Welcome to the Ballard Show. I have my new special co-host, Miss Shalonda Coles, aka Miss Coco Borsellini.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest here today by the name of Mr. Kirkland Hall, Sr. He's the president of the NAACP of Somerset County, and he's also a doctor, and he has all types of degrees and everything. Could you just tell the world hello? Let them know, everybody know what's going on with you, man.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Kirkland Hall. I have been very blessed and fortunate to experience a number of activities. First of all, I was able to attend University of Maryland Eastern Shore. While there, I played basketball and baseball. From there, I went to The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, then back to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. If I would say my claim to fame would be that this will begin my 49th year teaching in the classroom. And in addition to that, I'm also coaching the boys basketball at Washington High School.
Nice.
That's great, man. That's great.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, let's talk about some of the issues and the reason why we have Mr. Hall sitting here. Because you are the president of the NAACP, okay?
Yes.
You should know that we have a lot of issues down here on this lower shore. I want to know first, what is the highest priority that's on your desk?
Well, first of all, I need to preface that NAACP is not designed to be a lawyer for individuals. Secondly, individuals that have a complaint should put it in writing because word of mouth is not sufficient. We realize that here on the Lower Eastern Shore, we still have some racial issues
Absolutely.
that go unnoticed. We have individuals that are doing things that we can consider racist and no penalties, as it always has been. But I will say that I have recognized a slight change because now we are getting access to the table.
Yes.
We're able to discuss things. And now that shows like this, when the public is informed of what's going on, makes a difference.
It absolutely does. And
I
that's
agree.
what one of the reasons why I had to make a purpose to be here for this interview. I have young children. Mark's children are all grown. So my children are still in the community, and we've only been here for about a year.
Oh, okay.
We come from metropolitan areas, Trenton, D.C., big cities. So the change from there to here has been pretty dramatic and has had a huge impact on the things that they do, the things that they associate with. So one of the things that I definitely wanted to attack and bring up is resources. Is the NAACP doing anything to help the children of our nature with just creating programs, honestly, for after school, during the summer, just irregardless, just creating something for these children to do, because I'm pretty sure you've heard, I'm pretty sure you have nieces, nephews, grandkids and things, and I know that you get these reports. I want to know how you feel, and is the chapter doing anything to help in that way?
First of all, and I'm from Somerset County, of course.
All right.
Somerset has been considered for years the poorest county in the state of Maryland as far as resources, but I do see some progress.
Okay.
The NAACP as an organization in Somerset has not been able to afford different programs. So it's up to individuals in the group to get involved. For an example, I ran the National Youth Sports Program,
Okay.
which is a program that served over 400 kids, Somerset, Wycombe, Worcester County. I did that for 20 years.
Okay.
On top of that, I had another program at the local high school, which was now it's a business, it's an office for the county commissioners at Washington High School. We had a youth program. Also, I was a Girl Scout Monica.
Oh, yeah?
So yeah,
I was in the brownies.
Yeah. I was a Girl Scout. My daughter, Murray, who's a medical doctor, and I think.
Nicely done.
She said, "Dad, you do everything for Charles, my other son, who's a basketball player, but you don't do anything for the girls." So just
Because you knew they had it.
So I just happened to be the lady who recruited for get a Girl Scout group started in Somerset.
Okay.
And of course, I volunteered.
Okay.
And I was very fortunate. Had about 14 to 15 girls, and majority of them are doing well now. So what I say is that it's up to the individuals in the community to avail themselves.
But then, even with that being said, you still have people who, I've seen it, you have people with limited resources. And like you said, it's one of the poorest county, which I did not know that moving into this county. My parents own a home in this county, and that's how I ended up here. Some people, I would say, don't have the foundation. So sometimes the community has to create a foundation for, if the kids are not getting it at home, at least they can get it in the community. I don't see that anywhere here, not even in the school system. That's going to be my next topic.
I recognize it. That's why I was unretired.
Nicely done.
After the 4th year, I went back
Good.
into the public schools.
You sound like my aunt and my grandma.
Because I recognize the same issue.
Yes.
Right.
And it's about availing yourself to young people what they're doing. That's why I decided to be serve as the basketball coach. And this year, I'm very happy to admit, and that the principal and others mentioned to me, said, Dr. Hall, this is the first year that nobody on the basketball team flunked off academically.
Nicely done. That's a huge accomplishment.
So
That's a round of
Yes.
applause.
And not only that, other programs that have on the campus at the school.
Okay.
I tried to be involved. Not only that, I have my daughter, who's Sherlyn, and Catherine just graduated, going to Warwick. But Sherlyn, who's in 10th grade, I encourage her to get in every activity that they had. But again, you hit it on there, it's education.
Yes.
Knowing about what's available.
Yes.
I'm at the school every day.
Yes.
I see all the clubs they have, all the activities, so I can encourage my kids to
But you know
participate.
what?
Other
The
parents
high
don't have
school
that.
has a lot of things to offer, but the middle school and the I didn't, my kids were too old once we got here for elementary, but I have two in middle school, and I have two in high school. The two that are in middle school are struggling very hard. Okay. High school, the twins, they're doing great. Stellar grades. They're always on honor roll and things of that nature. One is in the choir. But on the middle school level, there's nothing there. It's everything is missing. And then I found out because the staff, I'm not going to name names, but the staff there is not very receiving of some of us, and they treat these children a certain way. So, man, there's just nothing there. There are no teams. There's nothing academically challenging. There's nothing after school that challenge them to be better, encourage them to do something different once they go home. That's where I see a need right there.
Well, what I do is always one of her concerns of that nature. It is important only to visit the school, go to the Board of Education, and explain to me what you see, things that you feel that should be available to your children. And if the Board of Education does not make the proper decisions, because the most important thing is try to get them voted out. And that's the biggest problem that we have. And like I said, for coaching points, I understand. And like I said, I've always been a parent who, I went to school. They see what my kids were doing in school. I was sitting in the classroom.
They denied me access to the school. They told me that because of COVID regulations, the parents weren't allowed in the school and walk around. But what I see is that COVID regulations have been lifted. The kids are not even in masks at this point. Really? So now what's the problem?
I cannot explain that issue only because I'm not on the board. I'm not an administrator. But although I teach and coach, whenever I see issues, I address them to the principal and or whoever else. And like I said, I've got positive results. I don't know what the way I approach or whatever. But I do try to ensure and make sure that our branch stay active. We have an education chairman that stay active in the school system,
Right.
find out what's going on, what issues. And just last week, I was on the media review board, commission rather, to study books in the library. And 3 of the books were hashtag murder trending, which I didn't like. I didn't tell you that.
I didn't like that
And
title
then
either.
All American Boys, and then Money's Not Coming. There were 3 books that were under discussion by parents in the community. And it worked out that at the end, a student representative from Washington High was on the committee. And she said boldly, I agree with Dr. Hall. I think that we need to broaden our horizons.
Absolutely.
We do not need to be kept in the box.
That's
right. So one parent said, well, if we do that, let's put a label on the books, parental consent. Well, that we all agree with that. So those 2 books are back on the shelf. But
with that being said, what do you think about how the times have changed? Because as growing up, I know I didn't need parental consent in regard to what the teachers were presenting for books or study material. So that hit a note for me, because at the point where we need to talk about the material that we read in school, that furthermore expands my thought that it's a problem in the school system.
not on the school system, the nation. Critical race theory is a big issue, and I'm still trying to understand what the problem is. I research critical race theory, and I just, maybe because I'm African American, I don't see any issues because I study history all the time. And I got a book that you need to encourage, and if
I sure will.
called Strange Fruit.
Strange Fruit. I heard that.
I know the song.
You got to read it. You know the song.
I haven't read it.
But read the book by John Winterstein, with my former work co-author.
Okay.
And I gave it to several administrators at Washington High.
Okay.
I encourage them to read that book so you get an idea of how and why life is as it is today in Somerset.
Okay.
There's a gentleman, I knew I forget his name, from Anne Arundel County that wrote a bill for all public schools to instrument African American history in the curriculum all year.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to February.
Absolutely.
And I was informed by one delegate.
Right.
And I love her dearly, but she informed me, so you won't get that this year. It's election year. I said, okay, well, after election year, we'll hopefully he will
get it in there,
resubmit it and push it again. But some reason, somehow, and you heard one parent said, we don't want our kids to feel bad.
It's not about feeling bad. It's about the education. You need to know where you come from. You need to know what your foundation is. It's very important. And to piggyback off of what you just said and what we're talking about, my kids actually were disturbed. My older 2 that are in high school, they were irritated that they didn't get to learn Black history. They said, Mom, it's Black History Month. We didn't talk about anybody, not even our regulars, Martin Luther King or anybody, Mary Chisholm, nobody. And I was like, so then it comes back to the home. So when they told me that, of course, I started playing every movie I could find that I could think of. But that's the only way that they got that type of education, and that's not okay.
But see, that's not the role of parents. That's what the school system. We're educators.
Agreed.
And some parents do not have the time, nor do they have resources to teach kids all about our history, because it's so much of it. And you'll find out that because so many of us are making strides, media, TV, athletics, and whatever, politics, and so people are just, it's a fear.
It is.
That's impacting the community. Some, it doesn't matter because they believe in themselves. But so many of them are afraid of what they say. Can I tell you a short story? When I opened up the gym at Washington High a few years ago, 20 years ago, we had a meeting with the commissioners, recreation department, and the custodians. And please, I had a master's degree in athletic administration, physical education, and recreation. Plus, I've worked with kids for years. I got 14 of my own. So, the lady said, Mr. Hall, I want to make sure that you understand about working with kids. I said, please share me what I need to do. Well, you can't treat all kids the same.
You should.
I said, okay, I understand that. And also, raising your voice at kids is not good. I said, okay. Is there anything else? I said, and this lady, it's nothing matter with being a custodian, please. Because I got friends, brothers, sisters, cousins.
And all.
It's nothing matter with it. It's nothing matter. However,
Yep.
you stay in your lane.
That's right.
You do the best job you can with the job you have.
Yeah.
I don't try to be a president of the United States when I'm just a teacher at school.
Yep.
I don't try to be a delegate or a senator. I don't try to do your job because I know my role.
That's right.
And I thought about that, and I said, ma'am, what's your name? I said, what do you do here? I said, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that advice. And I'm going to follow that. However, that's something that's already known to me. That's how I coach. Okay. Coaches use different voice tones.
Absolutely, because each one is going to reach or resonate with a kid in a different way.
That's right.
A kid that's shy and timid, you don't want to use a loud tone because it's going to make them feel some sort of way. But the hard kids, you have to use that tone or they're not going to listen to anything you say.
And this was not an African-American woman who said that. This was a woman of the other persuasion. And it just showed me again throughout the years that why some people think that just because you're a person of color, you're ignorant, you're not knowledgeable in anything, you don't know how to treat other people. I would never, on this show, anywhere, call him by his first name, or you by your first name. I always put a handle on. I don't have a relative that's older than me that I don't put a handle on the name. Even though the my age, I call him cousin. And that's just the way I was raised. In the school system, although I'm older, probably the oldest one in the system, that's not a teacher or a coach that I call by the first name. Even the students are addressed as Mr. or Miss. That's just the way I was raised. And that shows respect,
yes,
that I honor and respect where they are in life. But to really hit it in a nutshell, we still have some problems that are going to continue to grow. And now, if Lord behold, if anything happened to Joe Biden, I pray that it doesn't. then you know it's going to be something. Because certain people have preconceived ideas of our people based on the texture of their skin.
I know.
And it's so sad.
Yep, it really is.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mark.
I'd like to ask you some questions about your awards that you won over the years. Anything that you won? I mean, like...
Well, let me preface this by saying this. I've always been motivated. Well, eternally motivated. In high school years ago, my guidance counselor said I was not going to make it in college. Only because I questioned a class. We had a class that was dealing with eating etiquette. She put 2 forks on one side and knife spoon on the other side. And she asked me, what would I use for my salad?
I knew you was going to go there.
I said, well, I gave her a fork. So that's not the proper fork. I said, tell me why. Use a small fork for your salad.
Yeah.
I said, well, I can get my salad the same way with both forks, so what is the difference? And I said, who said that I have to use that fork? As opposed to one right here. Oh, please.
Got the proper way to
So
eat.
then it was in front of the class. That created all my problems in life. And
That's crazy.
Of course, I don't think she recommended me for college, but I did.
Right.
That's right.
And then after college, going to college, I wasn't going to make the basketball team because of my size. I played 3 years. Someone made the baseball team because of my size. Of course, I made that. And he went over to Ohio State. Said, man, why are you going to that big, predominantly white school and you're coming from little UMES? You're not going to be prepared. But let me tell you this. The teachers that I had at Ohio State were outstanding. And there was some class I didn't have a chance to take when I was at UMES. And when I had to take those classes to graduate, they had tutoring sessions. This was years ago. I can remember failing my first writing test. I had more red marks on the paper than I had black marks on the paper.
That make you just want to just go back and do the whole thing over.
But the teacher worked with me.
Good.
And with all that, I was able to complete my dissertation, which is like 180 pages with no issues. And it came from writing, rewriting, getting advice. But to answer your question, the thing I'm most proud of awards, well, that's two. One would be the TREE Award, which is an award given by Upward Bound. I was selected one year as the most successful Upward Bound student in the region. That's West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Washington, D.C. And I really was overwhelmed with that. And the second one is being inducted into the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. I was the first athlete from UAS to be inducted there in that, and there's so many others.
Right.
But those two stand out. And then, of course, the third would be when I got my PhD.
How
because
about
so
that?
many folks said I wasn't going to make it.
Dr. Hall, not
And
Mr. Hall.
You're not going to do this, and you're not going to do that.
I'm proud of
You
this
waste your
man.
time.
Okay.
But again, that's because
That's
I'm
something to be
trying to
proud
motivate.
of.
Absolutely.
When people tell me it's something I can't do, I try to. I don't argue.
That's right.
I just
Show
buckle
'em
down
out.
and
And
start working.
just
There
go
you
ahead
go.
and work.
And the
That's
same thing
right.
I try to instill in my kids and the kids I teach.
Absolutely.
Don't ever say what you can't do.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I use this phrase you probably heard it coined before. It's not where you start, how you start. It's how you end up.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you got to work at it. Nobody's gonna give it to you.
That's it.
Facts.
Any advice you want to give to these young people or people of your age bracket or anybody, period?
People my age, first I tell them we can't retire.
That's right.
We can't. If you got something that you enjoy doing, do it.
Yeah.
Because as you said, there are so many issues,
Right.
so many problems that we need to be at the forefront to help our young people.
Absolutely.
That if we talk, what voice will they have? Because adults are not going to listen to our children.
That's right. And the children are the future.
and-
If we
and that's
don't
it.
raise them and
Yeah.
do
That's everything.
right by them, where are we going to end up? Where is the world going to go? So, honestly, that's just my focus of why I really had to do what I do. It's the children for me. Everybody else has lived their life. You have your foundation. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. These children don't.
Right.
And the young kids, I tell them to try extra hard in school. I don't believe in that 10% because you don't get 100%. But work extra hard in school. Study. Read. Now I read 3 books this summer, and I'm 71 years old. The 2 books I told you about, 3 books I read, I didn't read Tread Murder. I read All American Boys at Monday mornings, Monday's Not Coming. I also read The Strange Fruit book. I think I read that about 3 times. Because
Must be a really
just
good
get
book if you read it
in-depth
3 times.
understanding of what the author, who was not from here, it was an unbiased synopsis of life in Somerset County and on the shore. And if there's anybody I meet who's not from the shore, who teach at Washington High School, I advise them to read that. And I advise administrators to read that. And I would advise in the classroom, but I know it won't go to the classroom because the author listed names of people in the community that served as stumbling blocks for success of all people.
Interesting.
And you know, some folk did not want to
Didn't
read.
like that.
I'm also, you may know, I chair a commission on lynching. I'm a public commissioner appointed by Governor Hogan to look at all the lynchings, along with about 20 others.
That's a
in the
whole
state
other
road.
subject right there.
Yes. And we are looking at 4 in Somerset County.
Wow.
And we will have our town hall meeting November the 5th.
Okay.
Time to be announced because people come from all over the state
Okay.
and the country. So we got to get a time that the people can make it. But George Armwood, who was the last one in 1933, and I was on Historical Society, and I told him what I was doing my dissertation on, and the judge was the lady's grandfather.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she said, "Miss, please don't embarrass my family." And I said in the mildest tones that I could, as politely as I could, "It's not about your family." George Armwood was lynched for something he alleged to have done, without due process, without justice being served. And with that, but just educating the public on how and why it happened, that's the most important thing there. That's history. And not only that, there were 35 names of people that were involved in the crowd.
Interesting.
I got the list.
And
That
just by
was
you,
crazy.
I was going to say.
I remember you telling that whole story at the first Juneteenth. That was wow.
I think it's sad that in the 20th century, 21st century, 27, whatever it is, it's 2022, and we are still dealing with the remnants of what actually historically happened in this county. I did not know that I was running around on the railroad. I did not know that the courthouse had a slave trade mansion right there and is still standing. All through the country, remnants of these type of figures have been torn down. So why do you think that mansion is still standing there?
Let me answer it this way. The Ku Klux Klan was started in after the Civil War. It's still here. Not only that, so many other groups have grown from that. Different names, but
Still the same.
issues. And I was on the Tika Mansion committee because I was just interested. I wanted to know the story. Yes, slaves were there. Then I found some stories of some individuals that they actually helped after the slavery was 1865. And to me, that could be used as a teaching tool. Now, the place where the lynched slaves sold slaves was beside Macedonia. I'm sorry, Metropolitan United Methodist Church. So that is
Up the street.
yeah, that's not there anymore. But as far as the mansion is concerned, I was at a meeting 2 weeks ago, and I go through it all the time, and I'm always asking questions. And I said one of the things that put my mind at ease when I actually dug deeply into its history, about the owner, what he did, and we had to face facts. I worked in the fields from 6 years old to 17. You don't know about that.
Nope.
I went to from strawberries in the morning.
We got it good. Like, seriously.
Strawberries in the morning before I went to school, from tomato to bean to cucumber, hauling watermelon, baling head, and horse. Anything you need, we can think about anything. Drinking water out of an old well with the green slime on top of it. We had the breast of slime to the side if you want to drink water. But what when I say that, knowing that, and for that experience, I appreciate any history. And it makes me, the N-word. For a while when I worked in the fields, I thought that was my name. I was called
That is terrible.
so many times.
I believe it.
And even the streets of President, I was called that same thing. But it really made me my backbone a little stronger.
Well, I'd like to give a special shout out to everybody who's tuning in to this show, the Mark Ballard Show. Once again, this is my co-host, Miss Shalana Coles, a.k.a. Coco Balsalini.
That's me.
And we got Mr. Dr. Kirk Hall. Dr. Kirkland Hall in the building. And if there's any shout outs you want to give out, request to say hello to anybody out there.
No, I just appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate you coming.
To be here.
It was definitely a pleasure speaking with you and sitting at the table with you guys.
Miss Balsalini, any shout outs you want to give out?
Just shout outs to the Coles family, the DMV, the new DMV, as they tell me, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. You know who I am. And that is all.
And I'd like to give a shout out to Rap Fiend Radio, Pack 14, for giving me the opportunity to record these sessions and these live shows. And y'all just tune in and just stay positive and just keep winning, as I always say, and keep moving forward.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? And that's basically it. The Mark Ballard Show is about to go off the air. And I would say peace and love to everybody.